Hello, this is Spider Dan and of the Andor of the Secret Boars coming to you in a collaboration with our good friends at Genuine Chit-Chat. Mike and Megan are here to talk about a film. I struggle to describe it as such, but Mike has decided to, after hearing me discuss Necromantic on the VHS Strikes Back, the legendary podcast that it is, he wants to outdo that and bring to the table a more disturbing and fucked up film even than that one, which does again have some necromance, if you will. So so this is not within one of my kind of usual structures, because Mike is also going to use this video and we're just going to freeform discuss this particular film that I watched in person live with Mike and Megan. God knows why Mike let Megan watch this. And
I warned her for many weeks before.
I honestly thought you were going to be like, oh, Megan's going to go do some, some schoolwork, some lesson plans, or
Megan's going to go knitting upstairs.
She's going to go play with a dog or something, or she's going to do I don't know, cook or something. I don't know. I thought she was going to go away and do something while we watched this, but you were like, no, she's going to watch it. She's going to watch it, and I was like, knowing Megan's preferences for films, one, don't like anything weird, which this absolutely ticks that box in so many ways. Even for me, I think it may be too weird. And then it's disturbing, violent, almost psychosexually disturbed. And yeah, you
a lot of bodily fluids.
A lot
unexpected,
unnecessary amount of bodily
we don't
fluids.
We don't say what it is yet, but it's an unexpected amount of bodily fluids you wouldn't expect.
and it's and like liters almost of bodily fluids. It's the only way I can describe it. But Mike, since you wanted to put us through this film and watch our eyes bleed, tell us about Takashi Miike's Visitor Q.
Right, so I've got two older brothers, one who's 17 years older than me and one who's 20 years older than me. I always say that. I haven't checked. I think that's an approximation. I should probably know. But a lot of the weird films that I've seen are because of them. Street Trash, a classic Arrow video, nicknamed The Hobo Holocaust. Seen that because of my brother Chris. And this one was because of my brother Rob. Rob was on my podcast very early on when we spoke about Dad. So if you want to go check that out,
Rob
you can.
has gone down in my estimations now.
Oh, well, because he showed us this film. So they showed me this film. I'll show it up for the video watchers among you on DVD, because you can't find it streaming because it's just too weird and obscure. And they showed me this film going, right, we're going to show you a movie. It's very, 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 very weird, but it's also quite funny, but it's mainly just really weird and you've never seen anything like it. And I was like, okay, I've seen quite a few weird films. Like, no, this is very, very weird. And I was like, no, you showed me quite a few things. You showed me Versus, you showed me, Shaolin Soccer. They're like, no, nothing even remotely close to anything like that. So no, nothing like Kung Fu Hustle, nothing like Shaolin Soccer. No, this is unlike anything else you've seen. I was like, okay. So I showed the DVD case, and I only showed it briefly because I want to get cancelled off YouTube, but it is a grown man breastfeeding off a woman. So it's good fun there. It gives you good insight into what this is. So I've not seen
Megan's already.
I know she's already tapping out. This is me explaining the preface.
Because I just looked at the cover of the DVD
to remind yourself about it. So I've not actually seen any of what was his name?
Takashi Miike.
Takashi Miike. I always read it as Mike, but someone elongating the mic because clearly I'm culturally insensitive and egotistical.
You wish it was your neck.
Yeah, anyway, so he made Ichi the Killer, which are probably probably his most famous films. I say films because there's an anime one and a live action one. I've seen bits and pieces of that. Probably just the Chelsea Smile parts, which are probably the most horrendous parts. But I've seen those, and I know you've seen Audition, Dan, and then this week you spent a bit of time watching more of his stuff. But I didn't know anything about him. In fact, I think I saw parts of Ichi the Killer after this, but I don't know anything about it. And after watching it, I watched it just with my brother and stuff, and then a few months later, I was talking to the guys about it, my friends at the time. This was when I was in college. This was about 10 years ago. And I was telling the guys about it. And I was saying about the film, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, oh, should we watch it? And I was like, well, we can, but you're not going to want to finish it. You're not going to get through it probably. We can give it a go. So at a party, when we were like 18, 19, I would like to say, a party of about 10 of us someone decided it's a good idea for me to crack this film out, and I was like, we can. So he did, and no one there finished it apart from my mate Bradley, who's also been on the podcast. I think he either borrowed it or something, or he'd watched it prior or something, but he's seen the whole film. I've seen the whole film. No one else has. There's a scene with the microphone, and that's where they tapped out.
Yeah.
And I remember that being really early on. It's not. It's like half an hour, 40 minutes
with
in.
a microphone.
He gets sexually assaulted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that one. So that's a preface to this film of how I got around to seeing it. And there's a clear umbrella scene, which my sister-in-law absolutely adores the scene. She thinks it's hilarious. And she bought a clear umbrella just because the scene made her laugh so much. So if you're willing, Dan, I'll give the synopsis according to the back.
Please tell us how this DVD sells this film to other people, please.
And just to clarify, on the front, the only quote for the film is, in air quotes, thoroughly deranged, which isn't actually a compliment. That's the best thing anyone said about this film, is it's just deranged. It's like, that's not actually, when I hear, hey, a film's really deranged, it's like, I want it. No. So I got this film. I'll read out the blurb on it. With Dead or Alive, he created one of the most bone-jarringly explosive opening sequences ever filmed. With Audition, he delivered possibly the most disturbing ending of all time. Now, with Visitor Q, Miike Takashi has managed the impossible. He has outdone himself on both counts. When shamed reporter Kiyoshi Yamazaki visits one of Japan's many comfort houses to make a documentary about sex and violence amongst the nation's youth, he is somewhat surprised to encounter his nubile daughter. Soon after, he meets Q, an enigmatic stranger, and invites him to visit his family home. Upon entering this dysfunctional world, Q sets about teaching each family member a unique and special lesson. But will he succeed in creating domestic harmony? Outrageously perverse and truly unique, this transgressive experience will leave you shocked and stunned as it railroads taboos like there's no tomorrow.
Watch a different fucking film.
I know. Only half of that's real. He doesn't invite Q into the house. Q smashes over the head with a rock twice and then is just there.
Also, like, okay, let's start with the opening of this film, which
goes on for a while.
It goes on for quite uncomfortably.
This film's what,
80? Is this
86 minutes?
Referencing back to the nubile daughter?
Yeah, so it's 86 minutes long, guys. So with this film, there's only about an hour of probably air quotes content. Stuff they wanted. Yeah.
Have you ever fucked your dad?
Basically, that's you know what, Megan? You tell us. You tell us how this opening scene goes.
First of all, I'm going to say I'm normally quite neutral. I'd say I'm fairly neutral. The whole the whole thing is. It's all right. Yeah, exactly. I fucking hated this film. And I will never, ever watch this film again. I will never, ever watch anything created by this director, ever. There's absolutely no fucking way. This film was probably the worst film that I have ever watched in my life. And at one point, I was close to tears because of how much I was hating it. I had to take Willow out to the toilet because it was too much.
We paused it so that you didn't miss it.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, thanks. Basically, this film starts with a with a black screen with some writing on it that says, "Have you ever fucked your dad?" And then it's got the dad of this family, who has seemingly entered one of the many custom houses, and he visits his nubile daughter, which makes me feel sick.
There she is.
There she is. Yeah. And he's like recording her, and then they fuck.
I didn't even know he was making a documentary. That's why he went in.
No,
there.
I didn't know that. I had no idea. It's so unclear.
It's really weird. Like, it has that opening line, which again it comes up on the screen in text. You ever fuck your dad? And it feels like it's like a 13-year-old going, ever fucked your dad? I bet you have. Ever sucked off a dog?
Ever made a dog baby?
Hashtag dog baby.
Hashtag dog baby. Never forget. Hashtag never forget. But it's, and it goes kind of straight into it. And it's like, I will say this, weirdly, it kind of feels quite similar to what a film I covered earlier this year that Mike put himself through as well, which was Cannibal Holocaust, which is this kind of, it's shot digitally, so it's shot with absolutely no fucking budget. That's why it looks so like, digitally like shit, and the quality's not very good. and it was kind of an experiment. Apparently, this is what I've read. I can't say whether this is true or not. But it was an experiment to see what they could do on a low budget using new digital filming technology, and they decided to make this. So we have this kind of documentary, almost like feel, and I think that's why some of that violence and some of the rape or all this other kind of horrible shit that's going on feels so visceral, is because it feels like it's real. It's almost like a snuff film. So and there's moments where, you know, I didn't. It's meant to be a black comedy, but it's very much the blackest of black comedies.
It's like 99% black, 1% comedy.
1% comedy.
Yeah,
and I can see. He's known. Takashi Miike is known for being very extreme and is very chaotic and is kind of trying to say something with this violence. He's not just doing it for. It may feel like that sometimes, that it's violence for violence sake, but he is trying to get at something, like Cannibal Holocaust or Necromantic before it. The artist is trying to say something through these acts of violence, because I think if it was just violence, then we would turn off, and most people would just turn this off anyway, I think.
Yes, from my experience, that does happen.
Yeah, and again, I can completely understand if you're not comfortable with these kind of things or seeing them, like Megan wasn't. Like, even I was a bit like, fucking hell.
I did warn you guys. I want to clarify. Yeah. I didn't trick these guys to go, here's a cool, wacky. I was like, this is the most disturbing film I've ever seen in my life.
Me and Megan read the back of that DVD case, and we had no idea what we were going to see. No, that DVD case is fucking lying to you and lying to everybody who's ever seen this film. So yeah, so I think there's something here, and I think there is a kind of a message, but we'll probably get into that a little bit later. But yeah, basically about 15, 20 minutes of a dad. He's recording the whole thing. He's recording this experience like a documentary filmmaker. He's like a reporter, or he used to be, and he's basically just pays to have sex with his daughter. And has sex with his daughter.
And it's really slow and awkward. Yeah. And all of it, from the start to even so the sex itself. And it's a room full of basically mirrors as well, isn't it?
And
it's just really awkward and uncomfortable for ages. It's it makes me think a little bit of The Room. Because when you talk about this film with someone, because inevitably some of our respective listeners are going to go check out this film like they did with Cannibal Holocaust and Necromantic and stuff.
When you say The Room,
the Tommy Wiseau film,
right? Because there's also a film called Room, which is a very, very different film. I've read the book to that.
The Room by Tommy Wiseau. And the thing is, with that film, probably the only two similarities between this film and that film: awkward sex scene, and the fact that when you explain what this film has in it to people, they watch the first 10, 15 minutes and they go, "This isn't the film you were talking about." I said, no. Get past the first 20 minutes, and the whole film makes far more sense. Now, there is, in my opinion, a coherent storyline in this film. I just think that there's so much extreme, taboo, horrendous stuff going on around it. It muddies the message and makes it unclear as to what it is. And even reading that, and when there's a YouTube video, Dan, that you showed me, which I'm going to make you put it in your show notes now.
I was going to do it. Sorry, anyway, don't worry. I was going to do it.
Sorry, forced it down. But when they were talking about the film and things, they compare this to another film by Takashi. But when they're talking about it, there is a plot, and I think different people interpret how deep that plot is differently. I think it's quite a thin plot in itself, but there is something there. But I think that if you took away all the taboo stuff of this, it's barely a film. It feels like, although he is somewhat trying to tell a message, and I think it makes me think almost like a warped version of like Seven or the Seven Deadly Sins. It's not quite, but I almost feel like to conceptualize this film, you'd also almost have to go, here's 7 really horrendous taboo things. How do we link them together and make it into an actual narrative? That's almost how I'd interpret this. And I want to clarify, even though I made you two watch it, I do not recommend this film to anyone. No. I only did because everyone made such a fuss about Necromantic. I was like,
Necromantic's got nothing on Visitor.
Necromantic has one really taboo thing, which is having sex with dead people. This has that. It's not even the main part. That's like a side bit. One thing that happens in this film. This guy just happens to
comedy bit.
It is.
The end, isn't it?
Literally, that's the joke.
After the initial bit of it, it then becomes somewhat comical. But
well, you were laughing. I remember you laughing.
That's after I took the break outside.
Yeah. Yes, yeah. But I think at that point, it's quite clear it's a comedy as well. It's not just horrible shit.
The last third is completely different, I'd say.
I think
it's absolutely bonkers, the last third.
Yeah, the last part of it, I think just because of how insane it is, it made me laugh more. The fact that you both were laughing, I personally feel like this film has zero redeeming qualities about it whatsoever. I cannot express to you how much this film affected me. I fucking hated it.
I know, my love.
No, you
but
don't.
I'm proud of you.
No, you don't bloody know.
But I did warn. I want to clarify
No, you
before people think I'm
You
abusing
did not
Megan.
warn me to the extent of what this
I said
film
it's got
was.
every taboo you can think of in it, and probably some you can't. I did say that.
Maybe Megan can't think of that many taboos, Mike.
She's
an innocent.
I'm an innocent.
I've forgotten like half the stuff in this film. Like I remember the liquid scene the most, and the abuse, and the heroin addiction, and the sex with the daughter, and the microphone scene. But that was it. And I've just listed like 5 things, which in themselves, if in any of those elements was in its own film, that would be the main talking point of the film.
I kind of laughed when the dad finishes early.
Yep.
And she charges him more money. The daughter, the prostitute, because she's going about it like I didn't think they were related at the start, because I thought that phrase was just really weird. Just like, have you ever done it with your dad? I didn't think it would go, oh, because they don't indicate that they know each other, because he's playing the documentary filmmaker and she's like, I'm the prostitute, doing the whole kind of, she's with a regular John or what have you, and then it's only at the end where they're like, I hope you don't tell mum about this or stuff like that, and I'm like, oh god.
So then you question it, and then a scene or two later, when Q's walking around the house, you see photos of her, and you're like,
goes in her bedroom.
Because you guys asked me, and I said, in all fairness, there's I'm not going to hide this plotted mystery. There's no twists necessarily. No. So yes, I just told you. You guys were like, are they? Is that the dad and daughter? And I was like, yes, it is. Yeah, it tells you in a scene or two, but yes, you could just know beforehand. So do we want to kind of flow through the story? I guess.
I think so. So the net, I think maybe if we go through the characters and maybe what they're dealing with, their problem or trouble or something they need to overcome. Maybe if we do that.
Do you want to start, Megan? Do you want to tell us anything you can remember at the?
Well, the house is in chaos. Yeah. So after he has sex with his daughter, there's another thing that's like, have you ever been hit with a brick or something like that? And then he gets hit in the head by a brick.
I think it's a rock, but yeah.
What difference does it make between a brick and a rock?
Because people on the internet about cult films get really anal about tiny details.
Some sort of a hard rock substance that you use for building.
Whatever. It doesn't matter.
He gets hit in the head, and then the guy, visitor Q, goes and stays in their house. Their house is in chaos, and ultimately the house is in chaos because of the fact that the dad was doing a documentary, and then they
do you want me to say it?
Abused him.
Yeah.
With his microphone.
Penetration.
Yes. On film. Yes. And then that got leaked, and that's now caused the household to be in disarray. So you've got the daughter who's seemingly run away and has become a prostitute. Then you've got the wife who is a heroin addict and is being severely domestic violence. She's being there's domestic violence in the household.
Yeah.
She's being abused by the son, and he's hitting her with his array of tools for hitting. And then he's being severely bullied by people in school, and it's all linked to this video that got leaked because of the dad. Yeah.
And you say it doesn't make sense.
You've actually done a really good job of explaining that.
That's very well.
Yeah.
And then you've got some random dickheads from his school that are throwing fireworks into the house.
Yeah.
But that is the premise of the film. Yeah. That is the plot, and then the rest of it just falls to shit.
It's a broken family, and a mysterious visitor comes and solves them of their problems.
I disagree that he solves them of their problems. I think he's a nuisance, and kind of things just happen. But
well, it's almost a kind of, I don't know, who is Visitor Q? What does he represent? Is he kind of the Inspector Calls type character? Is he real? Is he not real? Is he a ghost? Is he society? It's
comparing it to Inspector Calls.
Maybe,
come on.
maybe I don't know. I'm trying to
Inspector Ghoul.
I'm trying to figure out what we think the fuck he was trying to tell with this story. I know, speaking of Mike in that video that we watched, they said around this time that Japan, I was going to say Japan, I don't know why I wanted to pronounce it like that, but Japan was going through a kind of economic crisis. So there's a lot of people losing their jobs, not being able to, make any money. And I think this and The Happiness of the Katakuris, which is kind of it's not quite as disturbing, and it's kind of more of a comedy, and it's a musical, Megan. So maybe you'd like it. Who knows?
Is it by the same director?
It is.
Then I will not watch
apparently
it.
it's like a completely different film.
It
doesn't matter.
Made the same year, so and it's very tonally different, but there is some disturbing stuff in there as well, because that's what he does. That's his thing, whatever that may be. He does kids stuff as well. He's done over 100 films, believe it or not. Over
he released 4 in the same year as this, didn't he?
This doesn't surprise me by the quality of this one that he's released.
This one,
them out.
This one, I think, again, was bashing them out. But Happiness of the Categories has got a lovely remaster by Arrow Video. I watched it on my Arrow Video player. So if anybody wants to watch it, it's there, along with a couple of his other films like Audition, and Dead or Alive, and all the other ones we've mentioned. But yeah, it's. I'm just trying to think about what he's trying to say. Is he trying to say something about Japan? Is he trying to say maybe that the families need to go through hard times to become stronger, or maybe they can get through this economic collapse if they try to stick together or work through their problems or find a way to solve these issues? I'm just trying. I mean, what's great about it is your interpretation is your interpretation. Megan probably goes, "It's just fucking weird and shit, and I hate it, and I want it to not exist." And that's fine. That's absolutely a valid choice. But I want how I feel. But I want to try and dig deep, because again, most sane people who watch this would go, "Yeah, that's turning that off. Never again. I don't want to watch this again. I don't want a copy of it. I don't want it anywhere near me." But it is. Let's go.
We just bought a fire pit. Oh, you are not going to go to the fire pit.
It's apparently quite rare, so you're not getting rid of it. I'm keeping it, if only for the shock value, to show other people. That's the fun of the film. It's like the reverse Room. You don't watch it and have the shared experience of the weirdest, funny, little quirky film you watch that's such a bad movie. You watch this film because it's basically traumatic, and you can't watch anything else like this. And afterwards, you feel like you've been traumatized, but very shortly after, all you can do is laugh about it, which what happened to Megan. She was hating on it and said it was terrible, but literally, what was it, half an hour after, all of us are just making jokes about the great milking. But
yeah, that's the last part of the movie.
Well, it happens quite a few times.
So let's talk about the character. So let's talk about the mum in the film, because that is
She's my favorite character.
Yeah, so she is working very hard. She's she's doing all the kind of things you would expect a mum to do, or stereotypically, she makes the meals, she prepares everything, gets kids up for school, that sort of thing. But the husband doesn't give a fuck. The son beats her, and the dad doesn't give a fuck about that. And because of all the pain she's in, she goes and gets hooked on heroin, and to pay for that, she has to go and become a prostitute. And when she's out being a prostitute, the guys are like, "Wow, you look like shit. Actually, while you're at it, can you hit me?" And then throughout the film, Visitor Q, he just kind of hits the dad with the rock in the head, or the brick, whatever it is.
Brick rock.
And brick gate. Tell us what it is, guys. Watch the film and tell us. I think there is that clip on YouTube, so people can go back and.
No, you have to suffer through the whole thing, all or nothing with Visitor Q.
You don't have to suffer through all the extreme violence and sexual torture. You can just watch a key few scenes and get a gist, I think. But yeah, so and then all of a sudden he's just there, but it almost feels like he's always been there. The visitor, he's like. People aren't really looking at him, talking to him, paying attention, but he's quite happily eating all the food, watching the TV, all this other stuff. And eventually, throughout the film, we see that he is starting to interact. Once he it's almost like he's the participator later, but he's a spectator earlier on. He's just kind of figure out what each other's which of the problems are and how does he solve them, how does he get around them. Again, is he even a man? Is he even a person? Is he a fucking ghost? Is he what is he? You know, is he a samurai from ancient times, feudal Japan? Who knows? But yeah, it's whatever you want him to be. But yeah, and he starts to interact slowly but surely. And yeah, I think the weirdest for me is definitely where her story goes and how she kind of resolves her issues. What do you guys feel about this, and how and where we go from the start of the film to kind of where we end in her story?
I think she's kind of the core of the family. I think Q's mission, in my interpretation, is kind of when people, especially families, are in a rut with each other because of poor communication or anything, you need a third party to come in and kind of what's the term? Moderate almost. It's not the right term. There's another one, but I can't think what it is.
A mediator.
Like an intervention or something.
Yeah, intervention mediator was the word. So both of you, gold star. Basically, yeah. So he was like, you need someone to come in and kind of mediate to allow people to communicate. But because these guys are so extreme in their issues, Q's kind of elements into things are an extreme version. It's just kind of making them each look at themselves, and they each essentially have one thing happen to them, and it, relatively speaking, cures, in air quotes, what their issue is. And I think the mum is the absolute core of the family unit. You know, once she's starting to be abused, once she's the one who starts to suffer, it seems to kind of splinter and cause everyone else. And it seems that once she heals, that's when the rest of the family kind of heal as well. So I feel like maybe the mother is literally trying to show she is kind of the stereotypical, air quotes, standard kind of version of what a mother's role can be in a family, you know. And I think that she's probably the only character who's not insufferable, apart from Q, because he has like no speaking lines and he just smacks people and milks them. But she's just like, she's trying to help the family. She's being abused by her son. The dad's not paying any attention. And obviously she's going
he's
out.
also having an affair.
He's also having an affair with the
getting
daughter
cheated on.
as well. And also the other one, the mistress.
I wasn't talking about the
Sex with
fact
the
that he had
daughter.
sex with his daughter. No, I was talking about the fact that he was sleeping with his
secretary or
someone that he works with.
I think it was like, yeah,
I think she's also a reporter.
Yeah,
Isn't
she's
she?
a reporter, and he gets to. Yeah, sorry. I think that the grossest part of this whole film for me is actually when the wife smells his penis and can tell he's had sex, and obviously we know as the audience that smell is his and her daughter. That for me is actually the grossest part of everything that happens. I'm like, that's horrendous. Just the thought of that is just vile. But do you not think that's the worst part?
No.
No, I think it's vile, the thought of that.
I mean, that's gross.
There's I think there might be worse.
That's just gross to me.
It is gross, but the rest of it is either so extreme or so silly that it kind of bounced off me. But that's my interpretation.
Yeah, that's there's other stuff we'll get into.
Wait, you, Megan?
I'm not very good at interpreting films at the best of time, especially when they were films that I didn't really enjoy. I've always struggled with film interpretation, and poem interpretation has always been something that I'm not very good at. I distinctly remember her having very large nipples, though.
Yes,
the biggest nipples I've ever seen.
Well, yeah, not just the areola; it's the actual.
Yeah.
No, the actual nip.
That proper thick nip. But then now we know why, because she all of a sudden Hugh starts kind of coming onto her, and then he starts kind of massaging her breasts, and you think, oh, this is going to be like a sex scene. It's like, no, he starts physically milking her, and she starts
she's a cow.
Like she's a cow, yeah. I mean,
she's groaning and enjoying it. She's enjoying being milked.
Yeah, she's, and I feel like this is, in a way, it's a way for her to get her maternal power back, in a sense.
Yeah, it's either that or self-pleasure. It's one of the two.
Some it's maybe just reconnecting her with those maternal roots or maternal instincts that she has, because her fucking son is a fucking shitbag and beats her up, and she doesn't feel particularly maternal to that, or into the way he's treating her. And it starts off and eventually she starts to kind of do it herself, and it gets her off the heroin. She stops taking heroin because she gets more pleasure out of this, and then And then much later, we get the very infamous scene with the clear umbrella. And Visitor Q is just there, just watching her do it. She's in like a raincoat or something. I think, I can't remember what she's wearing exactly, but it's not for long. And again, she just is now going to town with the milking so much. There's like a consistency with the
There's about
amount
an inch of it, isn't there?
Yeah,
It's almost
it's
like a flood. There's like an in
almost
the,
like-
in the
It's like a
kitchen.
flash flood.
Because the
Yeah, it's
kid
like-
eventually goes in there, doesn't he?
Yeah, I think, does he drown in it?
No, he just lays in it.
He
And does
lays
like
in
an
it.
angel. He does like a snow angel out of his mum's
So fucking weird.
liters of breast milk that's also starting to curdle as well. So
I
it's
might,
like
I might check
somewhat
the
thick.
plot. I might check the plot synopsis of that in a little bit, just see if he did die or whether he's
I don't
still
think
alive.
he does. I think
Who,
the
the
end of
son?
yeah.
The son doesn't die.
No, I think the end of
Okay.
it is they'll all survive and they're all okay.
We'll get to that as well. But yeah, and she's enjoying herself so much that she comes. Female ejaculates. I don't know what the correct phrase
Kleeman?
is.
Makes Kleeman. I don't know.
Kleeman?
Orgasms.
Well, no, she
Orgasms.
orgasms, but obviously there's a point where she's milking herself and you're watching all
Yeah.
the milk squirt out, and then
It's
you're also
just-
watching just a lot of water
Puddle.
coming out of her.
Puddles and
Nether
puddles
region.
and yeah.
It's like
she-
mixing together.
She waterfalls, everyone. She waterfalls.
sure.
She's heavily
whatever,
squirts.
however
Yes.
however you want to describe it.
While lactating.
Yes, that
Mm.
it causes her to very much enjoy herself. Weird enough for you, people. Weird enough for you to give a go.
It's
We're
probably
not
that's
even
probably
there.
the weirdest thing of this film. I wouldn't say the most disturbing, but the
No.
weirdest part is definitely watching a woman both be milked, but then also milk someone, but as well as just the sheer volume of breast milk.
There's just so much liquid.
I'm interested by like how they actually did that.
It almost looks like it's curdling. There's
Yeah.
that much.
And
It's
there's
like it's
bits-
been there for so. There's bits.
It's also been
floating in
mixing
it.
with her
Oh, yeah.
vaginal
That's
juices,
so
which obviously
gross.
has a slight acidity to it because vagina juice isn't neutral on
I
the
like
pH
the
scale.
fact that
What are
you
we
felt the need to say
talking
obviously. Obviously on the pH
No, the reason
scale.
I'm saying obviously is because a woman's vagina, the reason you can't clean it with soap is because it messes with the pH balance. So that's why I said obviously, because vaginal liquid is acidic in some way. Hence it's on the pH
Who
scale.
knew we were going to get onto this in this podcast? Who
Dr. Mike.
knew? Dr. Mike.
Dr.
it is-
Mike,
it's
well, for knowing
pH.
the no pH balance in a vagina. That's why you're not going to clean it with soap. I thought it
That's
was
how,
common
you,
knowledge.
that's how you spell vagina with a pH.
Vagina.
Vagina. She's got a loose vagina, wide set vagina, vagina. Let's talk a bit more about the dad as well. So he's obviously lost his job, but he decides to. He sees his son's getting bullied, so obviously the son is having some issues, and he's taking that frustration and out of on his mum, and like there's bits where they tie him up and like, you better do it shit. Come on, why aren't you shitting? And he's, and that's his issue again. But the dad is like, he's almost like retreating into like a digital kind of documentary world. Like he has to be separate from his own family. He's like, he has to be disconnected from it to even deal with him not providing to the family, not being able to kind of just, I don't know, kind of figure out what he's going to do and how he's going to do it, and he has to kind of step away and go, okay, this is now a documentary. I'm following my son, and we're going to see how he solves the bullying and what we do, and within this, he's trying to get his job back. He's going, right, I'm going to follow my son. I'm going to follow this bullying angle, and it's going to be a story about bullying and how we solve it and what's the problem and what's Japan doing about it and that sort of thing. And the other reporter's like, you're a loser. You can't come back from this. You've been molested on screen. No one's going to, take you seriously anymore because of that situation. And he's like, no, I'll do it. And he's filming the bullies, attacking his son and stuff. And he's like, oh, providing commentary and stuff. And then he gets the reporter woman in, and he's like, oh, this is going to be good. And he's got visitor Q filming. And he's like, make sure you get the right angle and do this. And now he's kind of involved in the reporting of it. And then he gets mad at the woman for telling him that he's a loser and stuff. And then he strangles her, kills her, and then begins to rape her dead body. And then Visitor Q is still filming this. And again, very disturbing, not very funny at all. Obviously,
I can't remember if that's the bit that got too much for me. I can't remember what bit it was.
It was around the
Maybe.
halfway mark.
Yeah, I think it was
when her body's like
around about the rape time.
When the body's in the ditch.
Rape o'clock.
Rape o'clock.
That's where Megan checks out. Absolutely, don't blame.
That's where I was in the garden with Willow trying not to cry, and I was like, just go for a wee.
But the rape scene, don't get me wrong, the rape scene is very unpleasant. Although this sounds really bad. It's not the worst rape scene I've seen in a film. Fortunately,
no, but
it's not pleasant by any stretch.
No, it's not. It's not pleasant. She's dead. He's killed her, and he's still going away at her, and it's just awful, just horrible. But it's done while he's kind of overacting. There's a lot of kind of like, crazy kind of overacting, and I think because it's like that, and like even the sex with the daughter is like, there's moments of that where it's like, really over the top and kind of stupid and ridiculous. So I think because of that, it may not necessarily feel as bad as maybe a super serious version of that in another film, taken very, very seriously and done or shot in a more disturbing way.
And I suppose the sexual element doesn't come in until after she's dead. Like he grabs her and he starts.
True.
He basically like chokes her in his ditch, and then she dies, and then he decides to have sex with her, which obviously is horrendous. But he's also, during him having sex with this fresh corpse, he's also saying about the coming early thing, isn't he? He's like yelling. Look, I'm not coming early. Is this what you women want? That sort of thing. And it's like such bizarre, weird dialogue, but it takes away from some of the terror of it, I suppose. It's just
I find that worse personally.
Okay.
Because he's so angry. There's like a lot of like, it feels like it's very much like, obviously rape is not okay at all, but like it's someone that he knows and it's someone that he's got a relationship with anyway. And it just feels like he's trying to get back at her for something that she hasn't done. Like he's taken out all of his anger and frustration on a dead body that he's raping. And I think that is significant. It feels worse to me.
Yeah. Yeah, it is kind of him in a weird way working through those insecurities and those problems he has with himself. But kind of trying to get that out of his system in a very bizarre way. And then he takes the body back to, this is towards the end of the film. Like during this, the son is still being bullied, and the bullies shoot fireworks into the house. Like every night, almost every night, they are shooting these fireworks in, and the dad again is filming it, and he's saying stuff like, "I don't know how a father is supposed to feel. I don't know what I'm supposed to do, or how do I react to this? This is my beautiful wife. This is this. This is that." And during that scene as well, that's when the wife gets the confidence to kind of stand up to her son, because she goes out of the room because he throws like a hot bowl of food at her or something. She comes out, does this big cucumber or aubergine. She gets a knife and starts like going, "I'm going to cut your dick off, son," and then throws the knife into the ground and is like, "Don't fuck with me." So she's finally got that confidence back. But and the dad's kind of like, how am I supposed to be a father? How do I manage this and this, almost post-traumatic stress, I guess, in a sense, that he's kind of dealing with. But we then kind of get to the end. He and Visitor Q are trying to hide the body in the garden. And again, because he feels like liberated sexually, or he's got his masculinity back or something, and he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna have sex with her again," and he goes to have sex with her, and then he's like, "Oh, you're getting really wet for me. You're not dead. You're getting really wet, and this is amazing. This is the best sex I've ever had." And then he finds out she's not getting wet. The body has voided its bowels, and it's just like, "Oh, it's shit. This is." He
literally wipes his hand comes up, and it's got shit all over it,
covered in shit. He's like, "This is shit. This is shit," and still having sex. And then this is the point where it kind of gets just fucking so ludicrous that you kind of have to laugh.
At this point, it was quite grounded.
This is where it fucking turns.
This is where it's just like,
I mean, it's already turned, but
it turned when it started.
I think from the get-go this film had turned, but we get to a point where again, I'm not sure what happens to the son, but I'll double check in a sec. And the bullies arrive. They're beating up the son. No, sorry. Before that, we have Visitor Q, the mum, because rigor mortis is set in while he's having sex with the body. he gets stuck in the while inside the body.
That's my favorite part of the film is when he gets stuck.
And it becomes like a slapstick, like Three Stooges thing, because
Yeah.
they're all trying to get him out of this body, and they're like slapping on, they're putting him in the bath, and they're slapping on like creams and stuff, and they're all kind of working together. It's just fucking bizarre.
It's that scene that cracks me up. That's the scene where I find it actually quite funny when he's stuck in the bathtub and he can't get his penis out of this rigor mortis corpse that he's killed, and Q's just there, just kind of watching, and I think still filming at points.
Oh yeah, still filming.
And then the wife comes in and she's like, "Oh, you need butter. You need butter, this, and then heroin," because she injects him with heroin to loosen
to relax him. Yeah,
and then it happens, and then you hear, and he's like, "I'm free." And then they're all like, "Yay!" And like she's really happy about it. And the wife is so enamored. She's so happy. And he's like, "I'm so proud of you. Yeah, we make a great team and stuff." While this fresh, lifeless corpse in a bathtub.
Killed a woman.
Yep.
And shagging her. Not fussed. It's fine. Don't worry about it.
And they're all just really chill about the situation. And then they're like, "Okay, we need to get rid of this. So we need to take the body out to the back, put it under some tarpaulin, and cut it up into small pieces." And they're all just
forgot about that.
And they're all
I don't remember that at all.
They're all just so you don't watch the actual
That's
much
gone
of the
from my
cutting.
brain.
You don't
Yeah,
watch
I
much of the
forgot about
cutting. It's more insinuated. Of all the things in this film that you see, the cutting of the corpses you don't really get to see as much. But you get all that sort of stuff happening, and then may I say what happens at the end?
I mean, we've got the bullies that turn up at this point,
right?
So the dad's free. The bullies turn up, and the dad's like, "Right, I'm a man again. Let's do this."
I forgot. Yep.
It's kind of.
I don't remember the bullies
you remember
turning
this bit.
up.
You remember it.
So the mum and the dad come out, and finally, it's like the family is kind of almost one unit again, and they're like all on board with each other. They're all helping each other out. And he basically he's in his pants and he's just got the bandage around his head like the whole way through the film, and he runs out and he's like, "Yeah!" And then he hits one of the bullies and then gets a saw and puts it in the bully's head, and it's there for ages.
He's doing that to the bully's head.
Oh yeah. Okay.
And then
the wife throws knives or something.
Yeah, she throws something at the other bully just as he's about to run away. So they all save the son, and then I think you could talk about right at the end, the very kind of last piece of the puzzle of this film.
Yeah, so after they've killed, I think it's 3 bullies. There's 2 or 3 bullies. There's one
after they've killed some children.
Yeah, some literal 16-year-olds probably who've been bullying their son. They've been bullying hard, but like murder's a bit bad.
Yeah, granted, they've been throwing fireworks into
They
the
could
house.
have killed them because the house kind of burns down, doesn't it? I believe like the house burns down. So that's again they've got nothing. They've got no house. They've got and he talks about the destruction and filming it while it's going on.
Yeah.
But again, it's almost like they're tearing down something to almost rebuild it in a way.
Yeah, kind of starting anew. And so they've killed the bullies. So the son's fine. The mum's liberated. The dad's seemingly okay now.
Does the daughter come back?
So the daughter comes back. And then they dispose of the corpses in the garden. And then the very last scene is the mum sat there, which is what the cover of the DVD is. He starts sucking on her milk and breastfeeding. And then she beckons the daughter over. And then the daughter finally comes home by suckling on her breast.
How does she even have milk in there? Like,
I mean, she's that's the weird. That's the thing that's a bit odd. Is how is there still milk?
That's the thing that's a bit odd.
No, but everything else in the film is weird. But it's in a realm of could happen in real life. But the breast milk, it's weird.
The breast milk would have dried up. Her children are old. Clearly, she doesn't milk herself regularly.
Yeah, but then
maybe that's the point. Maybe it's that she never properly breastfed the son, which is why he's so messed up. Which is why she's just got this residue breast milk.
Absolutely pulling at those fucking threads, aren't you? Like,
it's interpretation. The fact of the matter in this film is this woman produced liters of breast milk.
I know if you keep breastfeeding, you can continue to.
Oh yeah.
So maybe she's she's doing that with clients. Maybe with
that was the only thing I could think of.
That's the only other thing, or maybe the dad likes it on the quiet, and we don't know. We don't see that. But yeah,
I think it's all a metaphor. I think the milking thing is the main.
If I remember, if I remember rightly as well, because again, the visitor Q, again, whether or not we feel he's solved the issues, they are almost weirdly stronger together now than they
Yeah.
ever have been. Like they're a cohesive family unit. Like the happiness of the Katakuris, the main plot of that is they've set up a guest house. They're trying to run this guest house. Nobody wants to come because it's just out of the sticks. Nobody wants to go there. And every guest they have ends up dying for some unknown reason. They just fucking die. And they're like, shit, we can't let anybody know about this. We've got to bury it. We've got to bury the bodies, hide the bodies. And then obviously it ramps up and the deaths get more and more ridiculous. And the musical numbers end up with like zombies in and all sorts of weird stuff. But again, it's that families coming together and loving each other and doing what they can. And again, this is like, I'm glad that video kind of, talked about both of these, because I think there is definitely a similarity. Like he's exploring the same idea. And I think even Takashi Miike has said these are kind of like sister films, that they are kind of exploring the same ideas, but through different genres or lenses. Again, Happiness of the Categories is much more funny. It's got musical numbers. It's ludicrous and ridiculous and weird.
It looks better as well. Like, I
It
don't
is.
know how he made the both in the
will-
same year. Yeah, one of them looks like it was made 20 years before the other one.
Well, again, Happiness of the Categories was not shot on digital, but was, and also had a bigger budget. So that's why, and it's been remastered since. Visitor Q has not since. That's why it still looks a bit shit.
No one wants to remember.
And nobody wants to remaster it because they're like, who'd remaster this?
Who'd even watch this?
Why do I want to see milking in high definition? Why would I want to see any of this in high definition?
I don't want to see milking in standard definition.
What is going on? But yeah, I think also he Visitor Q meets Miki, and I think he bashes her head in with the rock or a stone or brick or what brick gate.
I think it is a rock.
Whatever it is. But I'm pretty sure because they definitely meet, because I think he's the instigator of her going home because she says, "Oh, kind of finally had enough." Because she's not really in the film; she kind of bookends it with the beginning and the end. We don't see her in between. But yeah, so I think that's kind of everything.
So can we run through the taboos we've got? So we've got incest is what it starts with. Then you've obviously got violence because hitting the head with a rock.
Sure.
Then you've got the domestic violence.
Mm-hmm.
Then you've got the heroin addiction. Then you've got her selling sex to someone she's not related to. Then you've got does the milking happen after that? Then
you could, I guess, drug addiction could be a taboo as well. I guess.
Yeah, the heroin, like injecting as well.
Yeah.
Well, you've got the fact that the dad is doing nothing when his son is being bullied.
Yeah. You've got that. Then
so neglect.
And then you've got then there's obviously more abuse sprinkled through the film where the son keeps throwing the mum through walls,
murder,
hitting her with that stuff.
Yeah.
Yep. Then
rape.
you've got murder, and it sounds bad. I don't know if is it rape if the person's dead, or is it just necrophilia?
It's still rape.
Well, there's no consent, but does it class as
It's still
necrophilia?
rape.
Okay, it's not good, whatever it is.
it's very wrong.
Necrophilia, and then you've got the great milking of 2001. Then you've got the squirting while milking. Then you've got
his second go at having sex with
his second go, and then getting
Yeah.
stuck in the second go. And then there's shit as well, because obviously when he's in there second time.
Shit's not a taboo.
No, but it's pretty gross to see in films. And it's still an unpleasant thing. And then
You got everyone stop shitting. It's a taboo. You're not allowed. No one is allowed to shit.
No one's allowed to
Everybody shits, guys.
Nobody's allowed to poop. Not on my watch. And then after that, you've got them freeing himself from the.
I'm so
rigor mortis
constipated.
corpse. Then you've got the bullying as well, and then you've got the murder of children in quite violent ways, and then you've got adult breastfeeding. Is that everything?
Illegal fireworks.
Illegal. That's the worst of them all.
That's it. Ban them. Ban fireworks.
I think because it's one of those things when I explain this film to people, or when I heard everyone talk about necromantic and cannibal holocaust and stuff, I was like, that all sounds bad, but I was like, these are all like have one or two major taboos in the film. They're better films, no doubt, but they are basically focusing on one or two major taboos that are big shock value. This one just kind of it downplays all the taboos to the same level. That's one of the weird things about this film that kind of makes it funny is that although there are scenes that are unpleasant to watch, none of the scenes traumatized me.
No.
It's not like
but there's no normal reactions.
No.
to these taboos. There's no like
everyone's so apathetic to it.
Everyone's just doesn't give a fuck. Like
they're indifferent.
They're completely indifferent. Like the rapes, the murder, the rocks, the having sex with your daughter. It's like nobody gives a fuck. It's just they're just like, oh, these are just things. These are just things that are happening. Megan, hit the nail on the head. Absolutely, just apathetic. And I think because of that, because of their kind of reactions to it as well, you're almost laughing because you're like, no normal person would react this way. No normal person would go, oh yeah, I don't really care, or you would fucking hope not anyway. I'm sure there's some fucking people out there who would react quite, indifferent to these sort of things that are going on. But the fact that we had a reaction and we're like either nervously laughing, actually laughing, or getting very fucking disturbed and upset or crying is a good sign. We're all good guys because we're not psychopaths. I just wanted to say that, or sociopaths, or any other paths. I think we're all good. We had the right reactions to this film. If people don't react to this film, we go, this is a standard Saturday night for me. Then you want to worry, and then you want to
red flag.
It's a film that I
big red flag, all of the red flags,
every shade of red.
I'm like, this is what I do every day. This is my family.
It's an experience. It's not really even a film because there's so little to be able to talk about aside from the deep taboos. Yeah, we've spoken about the interpretation and stuff a little bit, but
sure.
The reality is, if I watched this film, there weren't any taboos. I wouldn't even have mentioned it.
Well, this is what I'm thinking as well. The way to get people into cinema is sometimes through taboos or through specific scenes or advertisements or word of mouth. I think there's a series at the moment which has a lot of word of mouth called The Idol, and right. it's had a lot of behind the scenes kind of sexual deviancy stuff, and it's exploring some stuff as well. It's from the maker of Euphoria, who's controversial, and there's a lot of people that are like, because of the kind of disturbing word of mouth and behind the scenes, people are actually watching it and going, oh fucking hell, it is a bit fucking too much for me, which again, fair enough. But do you think people will watch this and go, you know what, at least this isn't my family? At least as fucked up as my family is, at least it's not these fuckers.
I think even with this is generally speaking, I'd say to generalize certain elements. I feel like when a family has severe problems, severe, like every family's got skeletons in their closet and issues and things.
Sure.
But when there are things that literally destroy the way a family unit operates, usually it's due to one or a few cases of severe substance abuse / addiction, and or usually one person being domestically violent, usually. So I think that this is kind of going, let's think of every taboo that affects a family and put it all into one place. And I think that it's, although I've said this story does to a degree tell a cohesive story, makes sense, I don't think it's possible, because I don't think you can have this many problems with this many people and them still stay as a unit or anything, or even be remotely linked together. Only one of these events is enough to really destroy a family. And there's, in a family, even in the most deranged families, there's normally one person who's vaguely sane or sees that everything is going mental, or they're just all in. And in this family, no one's all in, but also no one's pointing out how weird and insane it all is. They're all just around each other doing these messed up things. And I just don't think you can actually function as a human unless you're on just copious amounts of drugs all the time. Like if they're all heroin addicts, I'd be like, okay, maybe it makes sense because they're just so out of it. But I feel like there's just no way you could be this messed up. What about you, Megan?
I'm confused by your response to the question. I thought the question was, do you think people would watch this film and think, thank God that's not my family?
My answer is no, not because of that, because it's so wacky and so weird. It's not grounded enough for anyone to really relate to it. That's kind of how I feel.
I obviously am glad that that's not my family.
I'm glad too, Jesus Christ.
I will third that.
But it's not a question that I'd ever thought of, I guess, linking into what you said. The only way that I would say, obviously, no, I'm glad, is because you asked the question. Because I don't.
Would you recommend this one to anyone?
No.
Is there any reason you would tell anyone to watch this?
I literally wouldn't.
So you're telling our audience to not to specifically not watch this?
I would not recommend this film to anybody. I probably would never even talk about this film again if it weren't for this podcast. I'm not gonna lie.
This is your therapy
I didn't even want to watch the film. I didn't want to do the podcast because I didn't want to talk about the film again.
I'm sorry, Megan.
It's my fault. I pressured her into it.
Again. He's forced your hand twice.
I have.
Yeah,
I have.
It's not even that. It's like sometimes, like if linking it to The Room, like that film is shit. Okay, but it's funny, and I'm glad I've watched it. I'm not glad I've watched this film.
I'm glad you've watched this film.
I'm
not glad I've seen it, but I'm glad that you've seen it.
I appreciate that you suffered through it. I'll put it that way.
Yeah.
It's a shared experience.
No, stop saying it's a shared experience.
It is an experience. Like, it's not really a movie per se. It's much more of a, if you get through this and you watch it all, you have never seen a woman milk that amount.
Yeah, but it's not a fucking like, what was that? I'm not Bobby Big Bollocks over here like, hey, I've seen a fucking film that's got loads of shit in it. Like, I'm not going around. That's not a thing to brag about. Like, this film is shit.
Yeah.
It's not a good film. Like, no, I wouldn't recommend this film to anyone because I wouldn't want to impose this on anyone.
As I impose it on two people.
Yeah, it's not like, I'm going around like, yeah, lads, do you know what I saw the other day? This film. It's like, no.
These nods ever fucking heard
this is how I heard of Takashi Miike, like around the kind of this era, this time where his films are coming out and there was an interest in Japanese cinema, Japanese horror, especially Audition. I heard about Audition and people like, have you seen this Audition? Fucking things happen and it's around that age where, and again, it's like, have you ever fucking wanked off a dog? You know, it's like kind of that kind of like mentality of those kind of fucking, stupid lads going, I'm gonna watch the fucking extremist fucking thing.
Was that Two Girls One Cup?
Yeah, I'm gonna go.
I'd rather watch that than watch this film.
Really?
Yes,
I would
absolutely.
No, I would definitely rather watch this film because at least there's an air of this film not being real.
I mean, I've seen bits of that.
I think everyone's seen bits of it. I can't deal with that.
I'd rather watch that.
I don't think I ever saw a bit of it, thank God. But yes, it's well, I mean, I don't know if maybe the message for the film is if this family can get through this, your family can get through anything. Positive affirmations.
Christ.
For your
Is this going to be like all those motivational posters when you have the cat holding onto
hang in there,
hang in there, and it's got
at least hanging there,
breastfeeding, and it's like
just hanging from the massive nipples,
just like that,
covered in milk.
Hang in there. At least it's not visitor Q.
At least your mum hasn't produced so much of her own lactate. It's flooding the kitchen
that you're aware of.
And we're glad that you're not swimming in it. Your son is swimming in not only your own ejaculate, but your milk as well. So.
And the mixing together to curdle into his newfound cheese.
Don't forget the pH level. We've got to talk about the pH level.
Got to make sure. Coming out of that important lesson to take from this film.
Vagina. Vagina. Is there anything else you guys would like to say about Visitor Q before we sign off?
I've got something to say. What about
Don't listen to this and think I'm going to go watch
People
it.
are going to.
Just don't do it.
Just out of the sheer curiosity. It's morbid curiosity.
I mean, Mike,
what I don't want to happen, what I really would fucking hate to happen, right, is for people to watch this after listening to this podcast and then be like, wasn't even that bad. No, you're wrong. I'm telling you now. If you're one of those people that turns around and says, well, it wasn't even that bad, you're incorrect.
I mean, we have said a lot what happened. A lot of what's bad about it is the shock value of what happened.
Yeah, obviously.
But I would say this isn't like for like Game of Thrones series, whatever it is, with a spoiler alert, Oberyn, when he gets his head caved in, that traumatized me. That's enough, Willow.
Sorry.
Willow's getting upset.
I'm laughing not because of Game of Thrones.
No, Willow's like, I want to come out. Because she's hearing us talk about lactate. She loves a bit of milk. No, it's when I saw that episode of Game of Thrones and the head crushing, that genuinely traumatized me. And there's a few horror films I've seen which the gore or like the reverse crucifix in Saw 4, I think it is, when you're just watching an arm slowly tilt and the bone pop out and snap. That for me is traumatizing. This film, I was like, this is just so beyond weird comprehension. I'm almost not processing it because it's so above and beyond. I've seen films. Girl with the Dragon Tattoo has some horrendous scenes in it which stay with you because they feel real. This feels so this feels like it could be like a Rick and Morty cartoon. Do you know what I mean? Where it's just the kind of show that's so fucking weird. It's not grounded at all. So for me, it doesn't fuck me up because it's just so beyond normality. I just see it as like a living cartoon. Do you know what I mean?
see what you're saying, but I mean, the bit that got me the most was when he kills the woman and then starts having sex with her dead body.
Yeah.
Like, that is a real thing.
No, of course. And obviously your perspective on that is different from me because obviously I don't see myself as that woman. I
don't see myself as the dead woman getting raped.
I feel like the majority of the time, from general sympathies, if you watch a woman being raped, majority of the time, women will be more affected by it than men. That's not just like there's a scene. If a man has his penis cut off in a horror film, most women go, that's a bit gross. And most men go, oh my fuck. And that's like, a very poor way of explaining sympathy, but that's generally how I kind of perceive it.
Yeah.
But it's not, I wouldn't recommend people to see this film. The only reason to watch this film is for bragging rights and to force all your friends to watch it.
No, don't be proud of yourself. Don't be proud that
I'm just saying, like, what
bragging, right?
No, what Spider-Man was saying. Some people like to gloat about the most fucked up films they've seen. Obviously, I haven't because I've never mentioned this film before on a podcast. I've never mentioned it to Megan before this. I just thought Necromantic, and because Dan, we wanted you to come stay with us, which you were a delightful house guest. The film you can't find
it's
anywhere.
Not the condition
you can't find anywhere.
That wasn't the condition for Dan to come to Southampton.
You better watch this disturbing fucking film.
I mean, to be fair, it was part of it was.
He better come down during the train strikes.
Yeah.
So take forever
because you can't find it anywhere. You cannot find the film. If anyone manages to find it, I'd be genuinely surprised. But I can't even supply it or anything because literally just on a DVD I've got. I got the digital file.
I will say, watching Eurovision was a very good palate cleanse.
It was, wasn't it?
It was. We watched it during Eurovision. Well, not during Eurovision.
Physically,
that's a very
Eurovision.
different thing.
That would have royally destroyed one of my favorite things on this planet.
But I'm glad we watched it. I kind of knew we were going to watch it. I said to Mike, I was like, we don't have to. We can always do it again. He was like, no, you've got to watch it we've got to watch it all in person together. And I was like, it's fine, Mike. We can do it later. You know, we can record it. We can watch it and then record it, whatever you want to do. And he's like, no, we've got to do it. Shared experience, shared trauma.
Obsessed with the shared
we are now forever linked together through this film.
Shall I make us friendship bracelets?
out of your own breast cheese.
Yeah, I'll make some cheese out of my breast milk that doesn't exist.
Get pregnant, have a kid, make your own breast milk that you'll squirt down with an umbrella.
I've got the umbrella, yeah. Oh,
yeah,
I'll get the
clear
umbrella.
Dan's ready.
As long as he's covered by the umbrella, doesn't have to taste it. And then we'll make him watch me drink your breast milk.
Can we put like a tarpaulin down or something? Just maybe just
we'll get a blue one. Like
I don't want to ruin my rug.
Yeah, that's the last thing you want. But yeah, if you feel you need me for that shared experience, I'm okay. I'm all right. I'm down for it. But yes, like again, shared experiences don't always have to be good. But at least we did it together. We suffered through it together. We supported each other. We laughed in the end. Some of us had a cry. Some of us squinted and was like, and winced. Because
the thing that's really funny for me, and it's not like funny, haha, but like, because obviously when you came to stay with us, it was the first time that we'd met you in person. So I know on self-reflection that I was in a horrendous mood when we started to watch this film. And then I think back at it and I'm like, like you're like literally meeting this person for the first time, like in actual person. I was like, why were you so grumpy? And then I was like, now you're crying. I was like, what are you doing? But yeah, but
I didn't think that. I thought you were, you came across very well. You were very welcoming. I didn't think you were in a bad mood. I'm sorry you were, but
there you go.
I really didn't want to watch it.
I also am sorry Mike made you watch it. Again, I didn't expect you to. And I was like, are you sure? I was leaving like, are you sure you want to, because again, Megan's taste, weird and violent.
The thing is that we know Megan's the star. You and I, even on our own podcast, Megan's the star. In Comics Emotion, the number one question I get asked is Megan going to be in this podcast? It's like, no. And it's like, listenership drop.
Even I get questions. I'm like, when's Megan back on? I was like, fuck.
Why is Megan not on Discord? And it's never going to happen.
To be honest, like, do you want to be?
I got added to a new group chat today, and I was like, oh, okay.
Another one I have to ignore. Great.
Yeah, no one have to bother Megan. By the way, Disney discussions, they're trying to contact you. They're trying to speak with you.
Disney discussions is like the only one that I respond to.
True, that is true. She is on there quite a lot.
But Dan, are you glad you watched Visitor Q? Are you glad you experienced it? Glad's a hard word.
I mean, maybe not glad, but again, it's kind of like Cannibal Holocaust. It's not so like Necromantic. I recommended because I didn't think I would have to watch it, and then Dave and Chris were like, "Come on as well." I was like, "Fuck!"
And then I volunteered. I was like, "I've seen this one twice before. Let's do it again."
And then Cannibal Holocaust. I was like, the director's died. It's kind of interesting. There's stuff around it I find quite interesting, so we'll do it.
You'll never watch that film, Megan.
And yeah, you won't. You absolutely
can't even tell you what's in it.
Yeah, I won't even tell you what's in it. Don't even listen to the podcast because it will be disturbing enough. But I would not recommend that. I wouldn't recommend Necromantic really, but I do see artistic merit somewhere in there, deep down on some level.
Those parts across.
You gotta get through the mountains of ejaculate and breast milk to dive deep down into that abyss, get to the bottom of it. I think there is some sort of message in each of them as subsumed is in it, in all their fucking taboos and things you absolutely do not want to get involved in. Megan, promise me you will never watch Cannibal Holocaust. I'm just
I promise you I'll never
it will destroy you.
It would very it upset me. It really upset me, and it stuck with me for quite a while.
Cannibal Holocaust.
It is not. That isn't the part that would upset you.
Yeah, no, that's.
I don't even want to tell you because it will actually.
We'll not say, but I think people would know
which part,
what
and
parts, and why.
Yeah, I don't even want to tell you why, because if I tell you why, that will actually upset you.
Yeah. So it's better not knowing at this point. If you can't handle Visitor Q on a good day, you won't handle Cannibal Holocaust on your worst day or on your best day or whatever.
On any day.
Any day. You don't want it. You don't want it. Don't do it. Just don't do it. Don't even Google it. Don't even Google it, Megan. Don't even fucking Google it. If anybody mentions it, you shut that shit down and you go, no. I've been told I can't see this. I've been banned from it. It's not
can't even
happening.
talk about it.
Can't talk about it. Get the fuck out. Stop it. It's not happening. Any other cannibal film, as long as it's not from Italy, I think you'll be okay. I think
Italian filmmakers are fucked up.
They're a bit
they
mad.
make quite a lot of the snuff. Quite a lot of snuff films, aren't they?
I love it. I'm a little bit Italian. I like Italian filmmaking, but there's some things that they do, and certain laws, especially their copyright laws, are fucking stupid, bizarre.
Megan, you and your people.
You people and your
rules for the copywriting.
Yeah, exactly. You were there back in the late 30s and 40s. You were running that shit. Megan Mussolini.
Yeah. That is my middle name. No, it's not. It's not my middle name.
And on that note, good night.
Do we want to give our plugs then before signing off? Because it's going to be on both feeds.
Yes.
Well,
it's going to be on both feeds. So it's going to be
YouTube.
on yours. Tell us about that.
Okay. Hey, Megan, do you want to tell people how they can find you?
Instagram, Grits Gets Fit. Sometimes I post, sometimes I don't. You can also find me on Genuine Chit-Chat's Patreon. And sometimes on other podcasts as well. I appear
Disney Discussions.
Places. This is true. Yep. Disney Discussions.
Yeah, and that came out a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, I pop up here and there.
Here and there.
Like a whack-a-mole.
A whacker Megan.
Like a visitor.
Don't physically whack her, because that's, again, we're going into Visitor Q territory again.
Don't get a Q. You just
don't get a brick. Don't get a brick
people
or a rock or anything like that, whatever it may be.
Don't let Megan near a lactating woman, because she'll just go to town.
I know where you can find Megan. Fucking miles away from any Cannibal Holocaust content.
Get
the fuck away from it right now. You're
trying to find why I've hidden Visitor Q in the house because she's trying to burn it.
I'm trying to put it on the fire pit.
If you did do that, I would just buy it. I would just buy another copy.
I would buy every copy and burn them all.
Don't do a book burning. It's a DVD.
Hey. Let art be the art. If you don't like it, sack it off. You don't need to destroy it. Just
if you don't like it,
I'm not going to burn every single copy. Don't worry.
Okay, well, you can find me at Genuine Chit-Chat on Instagram, Twitter, and on Facebook. And you should be watching on YouTube, hopefully, not on Dan's feed, be on the cool feed. And
maybe I'll put the video on my feed too.
Oh, fine. Well, then I'm cool on both feeds. Double cool.
Cares?
There's a playlist called Disney Discussions, which I've put on there, which has got some of Dan's Disney Discussions content, including episode 0 with Natalie, and a bit of the Goofy movie one as well. It's a banger. Yes. Really enjoy that. But we do Disney Discussions obviously together. So Megan's normally involved. That's her most regular podcasting slot. But if you want to support the show for as little as £1 a month, or you can give off a one-off donation at Coffee, you can do that. And then if you do a one-off donation, I'll send you a handful of afterthought Afterthoughts episodes, which will feature Megan. Or if you subscribe to Patreon, you get access to the Patreon exclusive feed, over 170 episodes of Afterthoughts, and about 150 of them have got Megan in. So if you want to hear Megan tell me how much she hates films that I like, and you want to hear Megan put me in my place, because all my patrons say the best part about Patreon is listening to Megan and Mike argue with each other. And then Megan
it's when everyone says the word argue, and I'm
It's
like,
not
we
really.
don't really argue, but yeah.
It's like bickering, but fun bickering.
Yeah,
It's like,
fun bickering.
It's like Brickgate.
Yeah, I mean, Dan's experienced how we actually are in real life. Most people we podcast with don't know what we're like in real life. In fact, the only three people that do is Scott Weatherly, you, Spider Dan, and Rhea, funnily enough. The only people who've met us in real life. So,
because you put on such a false front when you're recording on
yeah, we're completely different people, aren't we?
Totally different people.
When the recording stops, it's like completely different person.
I have a different hair color when we stop recording.
I was going to say my beard changes color. I was going to say I actually have a blue beard. But...
There you are.
Lovely. But yeah, that's where you can find all my sort of wonderful stuff. Coming up to episode 200 of Genuine Chit-Chat. So I'm doing a Q&A episode with Megan. Hooray.
Ooh.
Hooray. And it's going to be my 300th release.
I'll ask some questions. What do you think? Why have you not watched Cannibal Holocaust yet, Megan? That'll be my question. Because Dan told me not to.
On the feed,
I've been banned.
On the feed of Genuine Chit Chat, it's actually going to be my 300th release, although it's my 200th episode, because I've done certain part 1 and part 2 episodes, and also a few things I've just posted on that feed when I haven't got other stuff to go on. But yes, friends, thank you for listening. On to Dan. And Dan, talk about your Patreon, because your Patreon's great. I like it a lot.
It is. I don't probably do as much as I should, unlike Mike has got something out like every day.
I mean, I use Megan as it's basically my excuse to get Megan to podcast with me and talk about films. If I say to Megan, what's your opinion on a film? She goes, yeah, it's all right. But if I put a recorder in front of her, then she'll suddenly start talking about it for ages.
I was going to say she gave us a very succinct synopsis of this film, so yeah, brilliant. I highly recommend, if you are on Mike's Patreon, to check out the Spider-Man 3 episode. I think that is. I
think it's on Comics Emotion now. So there's a taster.
It is on the Comics Emotion.
Comics Emotion. Spider-Man 3 came out about a year ago. You get to hear Megan ranting about Spider-Man 3 for like 20 odd minutes. It's a great taster.
Like it's a far different rant than this particular podcast that she went on. It's a whole different form of hate, which I appreciated. And I quite like Spider-Man 3 in some ways.
So do I. I was kind of defending it. And Megan was having none of it.
The funny thing is that I obviously was the one to say those words, and I also have listened to that podcast.
I was the one to say those words.
I am human person. Hello, this is Megan speaking.
This is how you know it's not scripted. All this is all
because she talks like a fucking robot sometimes.
I am the one who says those things.
Yes, human woman lactating. No,
I have no recollection of what I said at all.
You were drunk on power.
Oh God,
it's brilliant. I highly recommend. Anyway, speaking of Spider-Man. Spider-Man and the Secret Balls will host the next Disney discussion. So we're going to do underrated live action Disney films. I won't reveal what we're doing just yet. I'm sure one of us will do that online somewhere at some point. But we'll get there. We'll get there. We don't know when we're recording that, but sooner or later. I think we've settled on the films. We just we'll save it.
We need a bit of a break because we all do the exact same thing where we don't watch any of the films to the week before.
And then we have to watch 4.
And then we have to every night watch a film.
Guess what? Another Disney film. Another Disney film. At least it's not Visitor Q 4 times in a row.
At least it's not all of Miike Takashi's or Takashi Miike's films. God,
yes.
I mean, you've been doing that, haven't you?
I have, because I wanted to maybe try and get a sense of the man a bit more. And again, I've heard about him, and a lot of his kind of his catalogue is quite infamous. So I kind of wanted to see what his chaotic mind brought to the screen. Some of them I like, some of them I really like Audition and 13 Assassins, which is kind of just a classic samurai thing. And I think Audition is weird, but in a good way, and it's kind of saying something about misogyny in Japan. But yeah, I if you're going to check out any 2 films, I'd check out those 2. But Megan, I know, will not check out either, because that
she wouldn't even let me check them out.
When we spoke to Rhea about this director, she was like, Megan's not going to like that.
Oh, absolutely.
I don't even like it. I do not like Visitor Q.
I think you're getting overly defensive, Mike. I think you actually
really
love
like
Hashtag Brickgate.
Hashtag Brickgate.
Vaginas. Anyway, me, you can find me on spiderdanandthesecretballs.com. All the stuff is there. Links to the Patreon. You got Derek Esoteric's track on there and all his musical links. So if you want to go listen to him and Teddy Bear's Picnic Full of Blood and Carnage, go and check that out.
Great barrel, I found that one.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely banger with Math and various other guests that have been featured.
Not me, but it's still good.
Maybe he's just not got round to your episodes, Mike. Chill out.
Well, it's the second most listened to episode of your feed.
Oh my God, Mike, shut up.
I only said that because me and Dan
bragging
had
rights
this
again. Bragging rights.
The only reason I said this is because me and Dan had this jokey, like banterous back and forth in Discord about 9 months ago, and I think people in Discord weren't realizing that we were both just messing with each other. People were like, "Are you guys actually okay?" No, we don't know. It's fine, and we kept having to kind of say mean things as a joke, but then add in a vague compliment to prove we didn't hate each other. And one of them was Dan was like, "You're a prick and you shouldn't come on any more of the podcasts." But the one you did come on was actually quite high rated. So maybe it was just because I was giving you shit because of a couple of your guests reoccurring. And I was like, what about me? I want to come on the show more.
You were like, that was the thing. You can't come on just twice. You can only come on twice a year. I've only been on once. Dennis has been on like 1,000 times. And Andy's come on like 1,000 times. Yes, but it's hard to find the time often to get people on. And at the moment, I can't fucking book guests, save my fucking life.
It's okay.
Anyway, go on my website. It's got everything you want to know, all the information, the podcast formats, blah, blah, blah. It's all there. YouTube, links, podcasts, all of the stuff. Go, go, go. It's a real hub, an exciting hub of activity on the World Wide Web. Ooh.
And it's amazing because you don't my favorite thing about Dan's podcast is films like this, you don't have to have seen. The majority of content he tackles are either really well-known stuff in a lot of the Clone Wars, or they're really obscure stuff that you're probably never going to watch anyway. So you can just watch kind of whatever you want and listen to whatever you want. And that's one of the things I love about your podcast.
I think you've picked one here, Mike, that nobody will watch and that everybody will hopefully enjoy on this podcast. So be it on your feed, on your video, or on mine, wherever. But this will be out Friday. I'm going to put it out, so you can put it out whenever. It's your video as well. We're sharing. But yeah, check us out on either one. Patreon is good. We could do with some money because we're poor. And yeah, all good. But I've really enjoyed this. Again, Megan, I apologize. I'm sorry. I am really genuinely quite sorry.
It's my fault. It's not you.
It's not you.
I'm sorry.
Any anger that I hold towards anyone for having to watch this film, I can safely say that 0% is aimed at you.
Good. I'm glad.
It's all aimed at Mike.
I was just like, Mike, what do you want to do? He's like, I want to do this. I went, okay, sure.
Next time you hang out with us, I won't show such a mental film, and we won't watch quite so much Europop.
I'll tell you what I did watch the other day, Megan, that you might like, that I like. I watched Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them.
She does like, you like the film, but it's your least favorite.
I like the film. I think it's okay. I think the Fantastic Beasts franchise is just a shame.
My friend said, watch this one. None of the rest.
Yeah.
Speaking of taboos, I did hear there was a lot of baby murder in the second one.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
It's very convoluted as well. It's basically it's more convoluted than the plot of this film, actually.
And I will. You might not go watch Takashi Miike films. I'm not going to watch the crimes of a poor film being made, or whatever it's called.
Grindelwald.
Grindo.
The Grinch Who Stole Christmas. The crimes of the Grinch Who Stole Christmas.
The Grundle Wind.
The Grundle Band.
Gargantuan gritty golf course. Whatever. But yeah, thank you guys. This has been an experience, another shared experience, whether it's been good or bad, or whether people have enjoyed it. We've been here. We've talked about a film. I highly don't recommend this. And I don't think most people will bother, but there might be the odd weirdo out there that may do. Don't recommend it for VHS Strikes Back, Mike, because I think they'd hurt you. I think they'd physically harm you with a brick or a rock. But yes, that is us. Thank you again, guys. If you're listening on a Genuine Chit-Chat or over here on Spider Dan the Secret Balls, we appreciate you. And again, this has been a shared experience, and I'm glad that somebody's been here with us as well through it. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.